Welcome to episode 78 of the Clive Barker podcast. So this episode is focused, there's a bunch of news and a lot of listener feedback, but I think the main thrust or the main focus of this episode was the raffle. So we did a raffle last year. You know, the proceeds go towards the costs of just maintaining the podcast and the site. We don't have advertisers, so this is what we do instead, right? So this raffle is huge. In fact, it's big, and I gave it a name this year. It's the Clive Barker Podcast Presents Fundraiser 2. All right, well, so we are at episode 78, the Multitude Part 2, and so this is kind of an episode of all kinds of stuff. We got lots of news to talk about. We've got some site news about our new raffle, and then a whole lot of feedback.
Yeah, so it's going to be one of those episodes. We're still working on Great and Secret Show.
Yeah.
I was actually telling Ryan right now where I'm standing right now in terms of progress on the book. And, doing good progress here. Can't wait to tackle this one. It's going to be really cool.
Yeah, sorry we keep putting it off. I'm probably a third of the way in it again. So, I mean, it's better. We both think it's better to have it fresh in our minds and reread the book rather than going off of our memories.
Yeah.
From a long time ago.
Yeah, and we've also been reading the comic books that have been coming out from Boom Studios.
Yes, yeah. So the first one in our news is Hellraiser Bestiary. So this was really exciting because it's a brand new series and it's a new run. And I wasn't aware. I don't know if you knew this before, that it's only a 6-issue run.
Yeah. I've seen that specified in like the previews guides and stuff like that.
If I knew that, I forgot, because I was surprised when I got this issue and it's like 1 of 6.
Yeah, but it's not a surprise because Boom Studios does this to some of their ongoing titles. I mean, rare issues, they do rare runs of comics. They do like keep a incremental numeral thing, but for some other of their releases, they choose to go like, okay, let's give it 6 issues now or 12 issues and see how it does.
Well, and you and I were talking about whether we thought this would be part of the canon established by the other Boom Hellraiser comics. Yeah. And we found that it looks like it does, because the introductory story is sort of to say, okay, we're going to acknowledge everything that happened in the previous ones and sort of establish that, now Pinhead is back to his old self again.
Exactly. Well, the last of the story arcs, what was it called? The Dark Watch?
Yeah, the Dark Watch.
Yeah, that was when we had all that strife in hell between two kinds of hell, the Cenobites and the demons, and and ultimately Elliot Spencer joining the faction of the demonic hell, and ultimately, no spoilers here, but in this one, he's back as being Pinhead. So, interesting story. He's not very happy. He wasn't a very happy camper.
No, and it's really a prelude, and we don't want to spoil that first prelude story, but it's kind of says what he needs to go through to get back to his old self again. Mm-hmm.
Interesting artwork in the first story.
Yeah, it's interesting to see. Kind of reminds me of Sandman, the way that the artist would change all the time, but it had pretty tight story writing.
Yeah, it's I like the style because it reminds me a little bit of like woodcuts.
Oh, yeah. I see what you mean.
In some of the panels, yeah. Some of the panels, they almost look like woodcuts. So, interesting story. Pinhead is in it, of course, and so is his second in command, which is who we call the female Cenobite.
Right.
So, like you said, a very interesting prelude. I'm interested in seeing where this is going. I shouldn't be very surprised at how they're depicting the Cenobites in this story, but in some instances, I am a little surprised at some of the things that they make the Cenobites do.
Yeah, that Pinhead smiles.
Well, I'm not going to spoil it, but interesting. Yeah. There's a few good panels in here. The artwork is very intriguing.
Yeah,
and the story is, like you said, like it establishes the link of continuity between the Dark Watch and Bestiary.
Yeah. Yeah, and then from there it felt like, okay, now we're free to give our new writers free reign to write the kinds of stories that they want to write without feeling encumbered by what came before. So it's kind of like Mark Millar and Ben Mears wrote that first story to sort of clean the slate and let the new writers come in and do what they want to do.
Yes, they do. This issue has 3 stories. Mm-hmm. First one is Symphony in Red. It's written by Ben Mears and Mark Millar.
Yeah.
Art by Connor Nolan. The second one is Desert Fathers. Very interesting story.
And it's hard. It's tough to see where one story ends and the other begins. I mean, there's a little red the word "end" on at the end of the first one, but there's no like title page or anything. Right. They just sort of. It took a little bit. I didn't notice, at first that I was in a different story, except that the art's different.
Well, yes, that's a pretty jarring indicator that you're in a different story.
Yeah.
I guess the cover page on the inside of the cover, that's where it announces the writers and artists. And so the second one is Desert Fathers, written by Victor Laval, art by Colin Lorimer, and it ends with The Hunted Part 1. Written by Ben Mears and Mark Millar again.
And that was a really kind of a short outro story.
Yeah, with art by Carlos Magno.
Yeah.
So it's like they're pretty much self-contained stories, but at the same time, they do end the issue in a cliffhanger, which is going to connect to the next issue. So I'm hoping or guessing there's going to be maybe an ongoing story in this miniseries.
It makes me wonder if Mark Millar and Ben Mears are going to be bookending each issue like that, and then have a guest writer and artist on.
Yeah, let's see
in the middle. Yeah,
sure. Let's see what happens. I mean, and this one that happened this way, but maybe they were just inaugurating the series and are going to bring in more writers. So
that could be too. Yeah. And I especially liked the middle story, but I wanted to see it longer.
Yeah, the middle story is very good. The artwork is amazing. I mean, it's very detailed. I love the story.
It was sort of it was sort of puzzling, and just because that. I just caught that. Yeah, it was. I mean, it was sort of a mystery, I guess, because I didn't really get a good sense of what this building is or why they run into problems with evil. Mm-hmm. They've mentioned they've mentioned something about they've run into evil stuff here before. Sure.
Without getting into too many spoilers, of course, Hellraiser story. Of course, the usual elements are in it, but at the same time, in this story, I particularly like the fact that they bring back an element of Hellraiser stories that I'm fascinated with, and I'm not going to say which one it is, but I really like the way they depicted this character, this element.
Mm-hmm.
So a really cool story. Again, the artwork is amazing, and even though it's a little confusing at first, if you go back and you read it again, and the artwork is. In some pages, it's hard to tell exactly where to look at for the next panel because the panels kind of mix together. But
right, it feels like you're supposed to read across from one page to across the next, but you're not. You're supposed to read left to right and top to bottom on one page, and then same on the next page.
But again, it ends up being interesting because it's like sometimes in movies a director has his own directing style and. Up with certain like trademark things, like Quentin Tarantino has these like zoom ins and stuff. So I guess this is like a particular style of sequential art that actually works well for me. I really enjoyed it.
And it was nice to see a Hellraiser story where nobody opens the puzzle box.
Yes, that's true. But again, like you said, there's still another layer of mystery here, which I don't know if they're going to, if they're going to go back to this particular story.
Well, and this is only a 6-issue run, but I would imagine they'll just give a new name and start a new series of the same style of storytelling, right? I mean, if it's successful.
Maybe this could allow Boom to get a better understanding of what fans out there are looking for in a Hellraiser comic. What kind of art they prefer, or what kind of stories or issues they enjoyed the most. So I think it's a good idea to put a lot of feedback out there about these comic books. If you got like a blog or something.
And this is a nice callback to the epic Hellraiser comics. I mean, it feels similar.
Oh yes, it does feel very similar. It works very well. Of course, the old Hellraiser comics, they had more pages than this one.
Yeah.
The stories were a little longer. And this one, the stories are very tight, and each story only lasts for a few pages, which sometimes might be a handicap. But I don't know. So far in this issue, everything, looks good, and it's very enjoying to read. So. But they're really short. I mean, in the old epic Hellraiser comics, they usually had like 3 or 4 stories per issue, but they were really big issues.
And it was like 30 pages or something before. And these feel like less.
Yeah, and they have a lot of commercial stuff as well.
Yeah, just at the beginning, at the end. Or, I mean, just at the end. I mean, there's like 4 or 5 pages of... Anyway,
the second one, I think, is my favorite one of the issue. It's... really, really cool.
Yeah, and I mean this one at the end, this bookend one at the very end, it sort of teases a story, but it's not. I mean, you're not in it enough yet. I don't think.
Exactly, just ends at cliffhanger. But at the time, it's like we're not told when this is taking place. If this is in the continuity of the first story, or if it's before or after the events of the Dark Watch, it's like. It's, again, a self-contained story. It seems like they're going to go down that path, but it continues on to the next issue. So, interesting. Obviously, a story that happens when Elliot Spencer was still Pinhead.
Yeah.
So maybe even before the events of Hellraiser #1.
Or this could be current.
Or it could be current, sure.
Yeah, it's hard to know. Okay, well, so that was Hellraiser Bestiary. I mean, I definitely recommend picking it up, and I want to see where it goes.
I really like the artwork on the third story as well.
Yeah,
very detailed, amazing.
Yeah. It felt kind of like Marvel comic artwork, or like Image.
Yeah, Image for sure. Yeah. I enjoy the heck out of this comic book. I'm glad that. I got the first one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write up a review, or you can write one if you want to. So very, very recommended comic here.
Yeah, for sure. And then that brings us into Nightbreed. So #4 came out right about the same time as Hellraiser Bestiary. And so now I think by #4 we're getting a really strong sense of what they're doing with these issues. And it's basically Lylesburg is explaining the origin story of a lot of key Nightbreed characters to Boone. And it's sort of being framed in a way of saying, like, look, this is the way humans treat us. Yeah,
you just gave a little spoiler there.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a big one. But it's okay. Okay, well,
I mean that's not a cat out of the bag. I mean that's across all 4 of the comics.
Well, not in the first one, at least. But again, this is interesting because I did mention when we were discussing the first one, or I wrote in my review, that we didn't know exactly who Lylesburg was talking to in the first page.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
But I guess that it looked like Midian from the movie, so I was imagining it happened before the events of the movie.
Yes.
Or during the events of the movie.
Well, and I thought Boone was in number 3 also.
Oh yeah. He's. Okay. I mean, they just reveal it more like. I'm sorry again for spoiling anything, but they do reveal at the end of number 2 that. Okay. You know, a big splash reveal like, hey, it's Aaron Boone. So.
Yeah.
But I'm really happy with the way this comic book is evolving. I'm really happy with the artwork. I'm really, happy with the story. The story is amazing so far. Yeah. I think they're really expanding on a lot of the Nightbreed mythology here.
It feels like it's taking a lot of time to fill in the cracks and the things that were never really explained with the movie. Rather than, the way that the Epic Nightbreed series was like, let's create a bunch of new characters and put them in weird situations and see what happens.
Yeah, it was still fun, though.
Yeah, it was good. Well, yes and no. I mean, I think that there were really good parts of it, and especially it got coherent at the end. Mm-hmm. But I think in the middle, it felt a little like they didn't know which way they were going to go.
Yeah, I guess that happens to every series. I mean, even the Hellraiser one has suffered from that at some point.
Yeah.
But really, really happy with this because they actually are going to the source material. You can tell that this is actually coming from Clive Barker material.
Yeah.
Because they're being very faithful, not just to the characters that we know from the movie, but also from the expanded universe of Nightbreed when you include things like the Nightbreed Chronicle book.
Yeah.
The photo book that exists out there. And where Clive Barker came up with these beautiful, short, like a few paragraph long origin stories for each of the breed that were depicted in the pictures from Murray Close. Mm-hmm. So, I guess at this point, it's in the cover, so it's not a spoiler, but Chocolat is also one of the breed that's going to appear.
Yeah.
Or has been appearing in the comic books. And Lude as well. Lude. Yeah. I guess they're going for the more, the ones that people love like the best, the ones that had more, screen time. I bet at some point they're going to introduce like Leroy Glom.
Well, and this is also, this issue wraps up the Reverend Ashbury origin story too. Yeah,
Reverend Ashbury, I think they're taking a gamble, but it's kind of paying off because without spoiling anything, because I really think that you guys should get these comics and read them and enjoy them. But I think they're making Ashbury into a kind of a stronger looking character in some ways that I didn't recognize in the movie. In the movie,
I see what you mean. It feels like they might be filling in some details that they kind of decided on their own would explain some of his actions and the way he was contradictory and strange in the movie.
Sure, that's true. But I found ultimately he was not a bad guy. He was actually a good guy in the movie. Mm-hmm. He actually does take a stand and stands up to, the sheriff. I forgot his name. Eigerman.
Yeah.
Eigerman. He does stand up to them. He did seem to have some kind of like principles, and he actually was kind of, Boone doesn't really see him as an enemy. He just says, we don't like priests here.
Yeah. Everybody just sort of turns their back on him and ignores him, and he's like, he wants everybody to acknowledge that he's a hero and that he wants to help, and nobody seems interested in him. And I think that kind of plays out, towards the end of Nightbreed and, what ends up happening to him.
It's very tragic.
Yeah.
But in the comic book, and again, without any spoilers, they're taking a different alternative path, which I think is actually very interesting. And I am even though it's different from my conception of Ashbury as a person, I am very, very open to this interpretation, and I think they're doing a great job with it.
Yeah. And it also feels like this was a setup because they're trying to put together a whole bunch of origin stories of these characters so that they can take them forward to the events after the movie.
Yeah, and that's pretty obvious because in issue number 4,
mm-hmm.
I'm not going to spoil which moment it is, but there's one moment where the story goes, from New York City in 1915 to like
1990.
Oklahoma in 1936, and then they go to Canada in 1990.
Yeah.
So without spoiling the scene, they're actually tying it in with events from the movie at this point, which is pretty cool. Because
then it goes right up to a little bit of dialogue from the movie, and then it stops.
Yeah.
And goes on to the other, the Chocolat origin story again.
That's what I was going to say. That it's really cool that they actually go word by word. They lift a scene from the movie, Nightbreed, and they include it in this comic book.
Yeah,
and it's pretty well done. And again, Ashbury, played by Malcolm McLaren and
Malcolm Smith.
Malcolm Smith, I'm sorry. Yeah. Malcolm Smith. Malcolm McLaren was another editor for Marvel.
Oh, okay.
Malcolm Smith, who they really make him look like the character in the movie, in the comic book.
Yeah.
It really works. They really capture the looks of Malcolm Smith. That's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm really impressed with this comic too. It's hard to keep up with everything. Yeah,
and although I haven't put up any reviews for number 2 and 3 yet,
mm-hmm.
I do have some points I would like to talk about briefly from issue number 3 at least.
Yeah.
Number 2. So it's interesting that in number 2, I just wished that they had made the Shunasasi story a little longer. It seemed like it was pretty short.
Yeah. Yeah, I expected it would continue on into the next comic, and it was kind of saying, nope, that's the origin story.
Yeah, it was a pretty quick, quick origin story, which I thought.
Yeah, and I think that we also were sort of, I don't know if it's our own fault, but we're sort of led to believe that the stories were all going to tie together, that Peliquin was going to, at some point, meet up with Shunasasi. And, I mean, obviously that's going to happen sometime, but it wasn't the purpose of having those two stories next to each other in number 1. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
But they do meet. Their stories do end up touching each other, right?
Yeah, I would, yeah. Not in the comic yet, though, right?
Yeah, Lylesburg. Lylesburg has gathered, at least in a comic book, he gathers Peliquin, and then he stops on the road and he grabs...
Oh, yeah. No, you're right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Or the other way around, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So anyway, Lylesburg, it looks really dapper when he's got, like, a suit on.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I think they're actually kind of, like, mixing it a little bit with the Lylesburg from Cabal, the book.
Yeah.
In the book, he's supposed to be a more mysterious character. He's kind of... I think I recall him wearing like a suit and smoking a cigarette or something.
And he wraps darkness around him. And I'd like to see that just because he could have easily had that power and he just never really got to use it, in the movie.
Yeah, exactly. So interesting. I really enjoy that. And of course, number 2, that's when we discover that Aaron Boone is a character in the comic book, and that's when they reveal that's the person who Lylesburg is talking to.
Yeah.
But number 3 was really, like, stepped up the game for me. I mean, I was like, number 3 really impressed me. I was really, really...
Mm-hmm.
There's a bunch of cameos in the background when you look at these pages. There's, like, Lude in number 3. He appears, like, in the first page, in the background, talking in Midian when... that's pretty cool. They bring Babette as well. Babette makes a cameo appearance.
Yeah.
And, some funny references, like in Chocolat's story, some guy yells "Jesus wept" at one point, which I thought might be like a funny Hellraiser reference.
Oh,
there.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I really love the way they lifted Chocolat's story, almost perfect. Every detail from the Nightbreed Chronicles, although there was a little thing missing, which was a nest made of priest clothes, and they weren't priest clothes, at least not that I could notice in the comic. But yeah, good. And I really like how Lylesburg talks at one point about the breed having their secret lives, and they just want to enjoy who they are without being judged and stuff. And it's a perfect counterpoint for the story arc of Ashbury, because they cut to this speech by Lylesburg just after they show us Ashbury doing some pretty nasty things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So about the secret selves and stuff. So love the ending of issue number 3. Yeah. And then number 4 is just keeps getting better and better. I'm really, really excited about this. Like you said, they're obviously showing all these origin stories so they can use these characters as like every in every issue they can use these characters, and people will know who they are now, even if they haven't seen the movie, which I imagine some people out there who buy this comic book, they may have never seen the movie. They might see the movie after they buy this comic,
I hope so. I hope that happens.
Cut.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah. So, it's going to bring more fans into this, which is always cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's Nightbreed, the Boom comic, Nightbreed comic, which is, I think, surpassed everyone's expectations it's just awesome.
Yeah, it's really, really good. You guys need to go out there and get all 4 issues right now.
So next little bit of news. So Lord of Illusions, we've talked about this before, that it's also getting Shout Factory, special edition director's cut treatment, in high definition. But you can pre-order it now.
Yeah. I already pre-ordered Lord of Illusions.
So did I.
Yeah, even though I probably shouldn't, but so I did that. Hopefully, I put it on the credit card, and it looks nice. Again, the artwork of the cover is done by Joel Robinson, who also did the artwork for the cover of the deluxe edition of the Cabal Director's Cut.
Yeah.
Nightbreed Director's Cut, I'm sorry.
And if you pre-order it right now, they give you a poster of that artwork.
And they ship it 2 weeks early.
Yeah. And it's an 18 by 24 poster of the cover art. And that's right. And they're shipping the movie 2 weeks early. So, and you get it for $21.95 instead of $29.95. That may or may not be a big deal, because I'm sure it'll be cheap on Amazon, But yeah, I mean, geez, every Clive Barker fan should get this.
Yeah, we did have Cliff McMillan talk to us in a previous episode, and at the time, we did not include a part where he talked about the Lord of Illusions upcoming release, because, he couldn't.
Yeah, he kind of had second thoughts about us releasing that information yet, because he said he could.
Their marketing department doesn't like it when they reveal things ahead of them. So.
Yeah, exactly.
But they're going to do their best, and I'm sure they already have it probably secured at this moment. They're going to do their best to put in the high-definition 1080p transfer of the director's cut of Lord of Illusions.
Yes. And had they... When is the release of this? I forget.
It's going to be in December, I think.
Okay.
Isn't it December? Let me check.
Yeah, I think that's right.
So it's a perfect Christmas gift.
Yeah.
Yes, it's going to be available on December 16, 2014.
Wow, yeah.
For U.S. and Canada.
Yep.
So yeah, it's going to be Lord of Illusions Christmas.
Yeah, and Nightbreed.
Hey, kill your family and join the cult.
That's right. God.
I was just making a joke about the...
Yeah.
Nick's cultists.
Yep, the Puritan is coming home.
And the blood's running warm in my veins. Yeah, that sequence is very creepy.
Yeah, and that's only in the director's cut. That's not in the version you get if you stream it on Netflix or whatever.
Yeah. So I'm sure we're going to have a lot of people in the future complaining about the Origami Man sequence in high definition. They're going to be like, oh, I can't believe this is in high definition now. It's even worse.
Yeah, but you cannot make a man get folded up like paper and not have it look... it's supposed to look unnatural.
I know. I guess people complain a little bit about the CGI of the time.
Yeah.
But,
well, and it doesn't look like a physical thing when it's coming up to Famke jets.
Sure,
And,
yeah. It's like sometimes some movies, when they go to Blu-ray, you can tell where the wires are.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, I just brought this example up because recently some people in Clive Barker groups posted like stuff like, "Oh, I can't believe they're going to put this on Blu-ray. Hey, they should update the effects in this sequence." And they
George Lucas I guess.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, I don't, I don't think that would make the movie any better or any worse.
No, I mean, what we want is to be able to see a clearer, nicer version of the movie, because the film is better than what you get on DVD.
Sure. I remember the first time I saw this movie was on VHS.
Yeah.
I was desperately trying to see what, as close to the TV as possible. Look at all those cool pictures they're looking at in the Magic Castle.
Oh,
The spells from the Puritan stuff, and it's like, you would try to take a screen cap of that with your camera or something, and nowadays you're going to be able to grab the Blu-ray, do a screen cap of it, and there's like crystal clear all this cool stuff you can see in the background.
Yeah, and the 101 Films version, if they had just waited a little bit longer, they would have had the high definition version of the director's cut.
Yeah,
but I don't. They just had to jump out and get it, right now, and just use the DVD version of the director's cut in high definition of the theatrical cut.
I don't have that one, and I don't know much about the 101 Films release.
Yeah.
So I do know that it was just like HD for the theatrical cut and a DVD for the director's cut.
Well, and they also shipped them out with discs missing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was a thing where they had there were discs missing, and people had to get their missing discs and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember talking about that on the podcast with you.
Yeah.
But this one's going to be a collector's edition. It's not going to cost you $80 like the Nightbreed one.
No.
It's going to cost you $21.95 if you pre-order it.
Well, I mean, they didn't have to re-edit the film, not like Nightbreed.
And we don't have the extra features yet.
Yeah.
But sure, as soon as it gets closer to the release date, that we will be able to announce as well.
I wonder if it'll have the old audio commentary that's from the Laserdisc, because Clive Barker calls it the laser. He says, on this laser, and because that carried on into the DVD, they used the same audio commentary that was on the Laserdisc. And
Yeah. So, well, in his defense, DVDs and Blu-rays are also read with the laser. So.
Well, but that's not what he meant.
Okay.
I had the Laserdisc.
Okay.
When it was only Laserdisc and VHS, and it's the exact same one.
It will be there. What I'm wondering is if they're going to do a new one.
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't take too much of an effort, since they were already working with Seraphin, and they were, working right next to Clive's house.
Yeah.
And we actually have pictures from Mark Miller's Instagram where he was posting images of a door in Clive's house or in the Seraphin studios saying, don't talk, don't open this door, Clive Barker's recording the commentary for Cabal, the Nightbreed director's cut.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't take too much for them to actually just go in and do another commentary for Lord of Illusions, but what do I know? I'm just speculating here.
Well, if he wanted to take a really long break, he could take another, 2 hours and watch Lord of Illusions.
They do have a story of doing releases. They're a chock full of extras, so I'm sure that this Blu-ray will have the making of, that commentary track, every single stuff you can imagine that's out there about Lord of Illusions is probably going to be in there.
Well, there's never been an audio commentary for the theatrical cut.
Sure.
They could do that. I don't know that they would, but that's a thing that could be done.
Yeah, they didn't do it for the Nightbreed theatrical cut, so I'm just going to assume he was more interested in the director's cut.
Yeah, probably so.
Because what would he say about the director's cut that he wouldn't say for the theatrical cut? The only thing is the theatrical cut is 11 minutes shorter, so that part of the commentary, they can just cut it away.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, and it's the cultists killing their, it's the results of the cultists having killed their families, and There's a little bit more about, where Jennifer Desiderio freaks out about the hole in the ground, and or the scene where she gets hit by the car, I think, isn't in the theatrical cut.
Yeah, that scene is kind of hokey.
Yeah, and then Butterfield's face, when he's getting shocked.
Uh-huh.
That pull, it's kind of like the RoboCop bullet scene. It's like way longer in the director's cut, and there's a lot more violence of his face bursting open and stuff in the director's cut.
Yeah, I guess what I meant was it would make some sense to make a different commentary track for the theatrical cut of Nightbreed, because it's like different. The story is different.
It's a completely different movie now. Yeah.
The director's cut has 40% difference.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, even the theatrical cut was Clive Barker's theatrical cut,
right,
of Lord of Illusions.
Oh, right. So there you go. Yeah. And the theatrical and director's cut, they basically are the same, except one of them has 11 minutes less. So in that case, I guess it wouldn't make sense to have a commentary track of its own. But again, what matters is that this is coming out, and it's going to be beautiful. I mean, DVD quality is nice, but Blu-ray quality on a nice TV, a good setup, it's much better.
Yeah.
It's almost like the closest way you're going to get to reproduce the feeling of, seeing it in the cinema, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So totally looking forward to that. Of course, more Clive Barker release stuff. I mean, this has been an awesome year for that. Tortured Souls. Technically, I guess he's coming out next year. But you can pre-order the Tortured Souls book right now. And the lettered edition is all sold out. There were only 26 copies because it's a lettered edition in a tray case. I can't even remember what that cost, but it's sold out now anyway. The limited edition used to be 350 copies, and they bumped that number up to 500 so that the limited edition wouldn't sell out. And that one's $60, and then the trade edition is a cloth-bound hardcover that's $30. And I don't know how many there are of those. It seems like plenty.
Do we know how many pages this is?
It can't be very many, right? The story was only like 30.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is the Legend of Primordium, which was basically the story that came out in installments with each action figure.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think from what I've read or from what I've heard that there will be drawings that Clive did of the characters.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, instead of seeing Todd McFarlane, artwork.
Which is also cool.
Yeah, it is cool. It's just different. And we did see, I think somewhere we saw a picture of Talisac. I think that's the doctor, right?
Yeah, that makes those creatures hanging from chain stuff.
Yeah. So we got to see a picture of Clive's drawing of him. I think was somewhere, or maybe on Facebook or something. Nice.
If we can find it, let's add it to the show notes.
Okay, I'm going to make a note to do that.
Okay. And apparently, this was being so successful in demand that they decided to increase the limited edition size, right?
Yeah, right. So there were 350, and now there's 500.
That's nice. And the print run will not be increased further, nor will the lettered edition be increased.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because there's not many letters to expand.
And the cloth-bound hardcover for $30 is a pretty good deal. I mean, and that one is not very limited as far as I know. So nothing wrong with that.
Sure. I'm just interested in knowing how many pages it has. But
yeah, me too. That would be.
It's going to be a really cool collectible.
Yeah.
Nice to see it get a proper release. Instead of just being like this series of installments with action figures that you probably can't even get in the box anymore.
Yeah. So, and then Revelations posted an update that actually I think first came from Del Howison, that Midian Unmade, it appeared on Amazon, so there's a link for it. I mean, it doesn't have the cover art or anything because they're still working on that. But it's a hardcover, you get the price, and Del had revealed that it's coming out in July. Yeah,
they haven't decided exactly on the cover yet. And this is interesting because you and I kind of know what the cover is going to possibly be like.
Yeah.
Because we know one of the artists that's working on this, so it's interesting. But if it's going to be the one I'm thinking it is, hold on to your socks because it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. I think this will be a good seller, and I think we'll probably buy a copy, and we won't have sour grapes because our stories didn't make the cut.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding. Yeah, I'm interested in this.
Me too.
Yeah.
And and then Revelations, they also said, actually this was a conversation that they'd had with somebody where it was, I don't know if this was revealed before and we just missed it, but Scarlet Gospels is 352 pages and 10,000 words.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. And
it's going to be a nice sized novel.
And so there was debate in there because Clive Barker had said something about it being 25,000 words and some number, much larger amount of pages, and now this is the final version of it.
Well, he does do manuscript versions, which are always like in the thousands of pages, but
right, but
for this one, there's no way to know if Clive Barker was giving us a projected number of words or something, and then it just ended up being 10,000. But still, dude, 352 pages of a Hellraiser story years after Clive Barker ever wrote anything regarding Hellraiser.
Yeah, and it was originally a short story, so now it's a novel.
Yeah. It was going to be a short story in the collection of short stories that was going to be called Black is the Devil's Rainbow.
First it was called Scarlet Gospels, or no,
yeah, that's true.
The book was Scarlet Gospels. The story was Heaven's Reply.
And even before this, Scarlet Gospels was supposed to be the title for a book of erotic art.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah. So that title's been kicked around a little while.
Sure. Yeah.
Another one that Revelations, caught this ahead of anybody else, but the Candyman soundtrack is going to be available on vinyl from Light in the Attic Records.
All right. It's cool because there's been a story of the music from Candyman not having a proper release. I mean, for a while there was just a bootleg with the archival music of Philip Glass for the musical cues for Candyman, which was just floating around. And then after a while, they came out with this Candyman 1 and 2 in the same CD.
Yeah, that's the one that I have.
Yeah, but we never really had a proper release of the actual Candyman approved, Philip Glass approved suites or cues for Candyman. So
was it because they just decided it was too short?
I don't know. I guess at one point, Philip Glass did delay the release of the cues for Candyman because he wasn't happy with them and he wanted to work on them some more. Yeah. And then he released that one with Candyman 1 and 2. But I think we talked about this in one of the episodes previously, right? I kind of forgot some of it, but the thing is, it's coming out. It's going to be beautiful, and you're even going to be able to get a honey yellow vinyl edition.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, which is pretty cool.
I haven't had a record player in a long time, but vinyl is pretty neat. I just, I guess I was more in the era of cassettes.
Oh, sure, yeah. Yeah.
Which are not, they're inferior in every single way. Cassettes are, but,
Sure. And, the old chromium tapes, they still work pretty well if you keep them in a dry spot and, away from, magnetic fields. But nowadays, all of these vinyls, they also come with the MP3 codes for online download.
Oh, do they really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Huh.
Yeah, a lot of these, Bandcamp and stuff like that, releases and small labels, small indie labels. They usually, when they sell the vinyl, they offer also a choice of MP3 or lossless downloads.
Okay.
Because it's a collectible. A lot of people like to collect vinyl, but like you said, not many people probably have a spinner for that.
Yeah, for sure. But they're nice. I mean, they're nice to hang on your wall or to sort of display.
Oh, yeah, especially picture discs.
Yeah. Yeah. So, sort of, I guess this would sort of be our main topic, but it's that time of year again when I get hit up, or we get hit up by the hosting fees, the bandwidth. There's hosting for the podcast episodes, hosting for the blog website, and domain names, and so all of that adds up to a lot. And we've been, last year we had a pretty successful campaign of fundraising through a raffle, and mostly what we raffled off were things that I owned myself. Actually, I think it was all stuff that I owned. But this year we've actually gotten help. And it's awesome. So we can kind of. Do you want to go through the prizes, and we can just kind of list them off, and then we'll talk about how the rules work and stuff?
Sure. Okay. Well, some of the prizes that we have, and this includes, of course, stuff donated by Ryan from his own collection, and stuff donated by other people, which we will get to. We have like Hellraiser: The Dark Watch #5. We have a Book of the Damned #1. Epic's Hellraiser comics poster, which is really cool.
Yeah.
The Razorline comic poster, the one that's painted by I think it's Bob Larkin. I'm not sure. No, it's Tristan. The artist is called Tristan. He's a famous fantasy artist, and it's a really beautiful poster. It's the cover for First Cut.
Yeah.
We also have an Everville release poster.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen them, these Razorline and Everville posters are the ones that I have on eBay right now, so I'm just going to pull one of each of those out for this raffle.
Yeah, and by the way, on eBay we are CB_podcast.
Yeah, and Roger had sort of said, "Hey, support the Clive Barker podcast by buying these on eBay." I kind of encourage you to hold off and participate in this raffle instead, because there's a lot of really cool stuff you can win.
Oh yeah, we haven't even skimmed the surface of the awards here. So we also have a Razorline bundle, which I'm going to let you.
Yeah. So this is basically when they first came out. I bought the first ones of each issue. So there's Razorline First Cut, the preview issue. There's Ectokid 1 and 2, Hyperkind 1 and 2, Saint Sinner #1, and Hokum and Hex #1. So I wanted to have #1 of each one to see if I liked them or not, and at that time I decided that I had to be strict on myself and only buy things that only Clive Barker wrote. So I didn't continue buying any of them. So I've got the #1s of all those issues there, and they'll come in a bundle. Later on for the podcast, I bought the entire set. So that's why I can sell my original ones.
Yeah, and it's a good starter pack.
Yeah, for sure. And you can decide if you like them enough to hunt down the rest of them.
Yeah.
So, and then Boom Studios was nice enough to donate Clive Barker's Next Testament #1 through 7 and #12.
And which one is #12? Which cover is it? The normal one?
It's the normal one, yeah.
Okay, yeah. We also have an Occupy Midian poster. To auction off, to put in the raffle.
And that's the Les Edwards artwork, Occupy Midian poster.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that one is signed by Russell and Malcolm Smith.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Really nice. And then we have the Pandoric Makers Magnum Opus Volume 1.
Yes.
Which it's one of the stars of this raffle, because this book is expensive.
Yeah, exactly. And to get this in Kickstarter, I think you had to spend at least $150.
Yeah,
and it's a pretty cool, really heavy duty book with a lot of designs and diagrams having to do with the puzzle box and kind of a mythology that Eric Gross had kind of built around them.
Mm-hmm. Inspired, of course, in Le Marchand and the Hellraiser box.
I think it started its life. It was called the Toy Maker's Magnum Opus, and then later on they changed it to Pandoric Maker's Magnum
Actually,
Opus.
That was the original title of the Kickstarter, which later was changed. But again, this is the Pandoric Maker's Magnum Opus Volume 1. Yeah. It's beautiful. It's a star. It's one of the stars of the raffle.
Yeah.
And this is really sweetening the pot here. someone's going to get this.
and actually, we kind of skipped over one, but there's a first edition of hardcover of Sacrament that's signed. It's actually personalized. It says, "To Jennifer, best wishes." She's kind of decided that we don't need to have two autographed copies of Sacrament. So what this means for you is that if you know somebody named Jennifer, you will really impress them if you buy this book and pretend like that you got it signed by Clive Barker just for them.
Yeah, that's a good one. Also, a friend of the podcast, Max Lichter, assistant gallery administrator of the Pyramid Gallery, has kindly donated a Pyramid Gallery musical lost configuration or musical lament configuration.
Yeah, so you get to choose between the lost configuration or the lament configuration.
Yeah, the lost configuration was designed by effects artist, and CEO of Wildsville, Anna Lavatt. So
cool.
She worked on Hellbound. So with the Warwick Stacey, Simon Stacey's brother. Simon Stacey was the guy who came up with the Hellraiser box.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, and she also put out this product recently. It's called the Le Marchand Squishy.
Oh, is that hers? I was wondering about that. That's cool. Yeah, it's like it's like a stress ball, but it's a puzzle box.
Yeah, it's a puzzle box.
So it's not a
really
ball.
Yeah, it's the cube.
Yeah, the stress cube. So that's cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And then, of course,
she's not in the raffle.
And we all know what the lament configuration is. So that one's a music box. So when you turn it, it starts playing music. And in fact, that's the one that I own. And I love mine. I mean, I think that Max's workmanship on these is really, really good.
And they're very durable. I mean, there's no lifting of the panels or anything. It's a solid, lament configuration. It's never gonna, if you treat it right, it's never gonna, warp or anything.
And I can say that I've owned the Nika one, and the Nika one, the brass panels lifted up and they poked me and gave me little brass slivers. And I owned the official Hell Mystery Box one that was made out of the plastic panels, and I dropped that one and it exploded. So
really fragile.
Yeah, so I love the Pyramid Gallery one, and I definitely would recommend anybody get them. And do you know what I cannot remember. I know I bought one of these, and I cannot remember what the value is of a musical lament configuration.
Oh, these they usually, I think they retail somewhere between maybe $120, $150.
There we go. Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, so kind of similar value to the Pandoric Maker's Magnum Opus as far as what you'd spend to get one of these. And Pyramid Gallery was nice enough to donate that for our cause, and Eric Gross of Followers of the Pandoric was also nice enough to donate that Pandoric Maker's Magnum Opus Volume 1.
Yeah. You're lucky you can say that in one breath.
Yeah. And another late entry, we got Jason Stolaric donated 20th anniversary Hellbound Heart that I believe is still wrapped in plastic. He said he bought 3 of them when those first came out, and kept one for personal use and put the other ones away.
Yeah.
So he's going to give us one of those, and that's a beautiful edition of the Hellbound Heart. I don't think there'll ever be a better version of that.
Absolutely, that's a very generous offer as well. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's a great book.
For helping out like that. And now we get to the good Seraphim stuff. Yeah,
so Clive Barker's office donated stuff for our raffle. This did not happen last year.
Right.
So I could not believe, I was so excited. I think I called you up when this stuff came up, and I was talking really fast like I did after I saw the Cabal cut.
Yeah, you did.
But so
there'll be pictures of everything.
Yeah. So in the first one, we've got 2 promotional tote bags. They're kind of like canvas shopping bags that are Jacqueline S on one side, and then they say Seraphim on the other side. So we have 2 of those. So the 2 people that win those will probably be the only people, the only Clive Barker fans that have those.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. That's unique. There's a Clive Barker's Next Testament number 7, and that's signed by Mark Miller that they sent over, which is super awesome.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, thank you, Mark, for doing that. And then 2 large T-shirts. And they both have Aberrat artwork on them. One of them is that kind of sundial-looking art. And what is it? Yeah. And then the other one is a picture of, what is that prince's name? I can't remember his name.
Oh, the prince that was going to marry like the princess, and
yes, yeah. So
the dragon came and ate the princess.
Exactly. So it's him. It's his face. That painting.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have those.
We'll add pictures of those later.
Yeah. Please just go to clivebarkercast.com and look at the show notes for this. Actually, not necessarily the show notes. Look, we'll have a whole post for the
We're still working out how to make the raffle and how exactly to if we're going to bundle these prizes into bundles, or if we're going to
I think what I'd like to do is have a drawing each day that the raffle starts. So we'll say we'll have a start date, and then every day draw one name for a prize, and kind of go from the bottom all the way to the top.
Mm-hmm.
That way if people over the course of it, if they want to throw their name back in, every raffle ticket you buy is a chance. And so if they missed out on the first couple of prizes, they can still, donate more, and they can still get in on the other ones.
And we could put one of these superstar prizes in each of those days. I mean, we can have one day with a Pandoric Maker, another day with the Pyramid Gallery box, and another one with the final thing that Seraphim sent us, which is a signed edition of Clive Barker's First Tales.
Yeah, and that's the very first book under Seraphim Inc., right? That's the first independently published book that Clive Barker did.
Yes, it is. It's historical. It's the stories he wrote when he was younger. So you can also download the audiobook from realclivebarker.com, I think.
Yeah. And that book, it's one of the numbered editions, but it doesn't have a number because it says PC on it, which I would assume stands for publisher's copy.
Yeah, which makes it even more rare.
Yeah. So that was really cool. Thanks so much again to everybody at Seraphim, to Clive Barker, to Mark, to Thomas Nigovan,
Ben Mears,
yeah,
everybody. Thank you very much for the support. It really means a lot to us. It really helps.
Yeah,
and we do this really because we love Clive Barker. We want to share our passion with more people out there. Want to promote everything he does.
Yeah, and the money that we make on this is just going to go back into Clive Barker stuff. I mean, things that we're reviewing. My stupid microphone just burned out, so obviously I'm going to have to buy another one. And
also for next year, So
that's right, and that's another thing. We're going to have to upgrade the stupid hosting plan because we're going to, we talk so long that our episodes are big, so they take up a lot of space at the hosting site, and the plans expand based on how many gigabytes you're storing in their server and how much bandwidth you use. And so the first few times I had to upgrade the plans, it was because the feed was getting shut down because we had so many listeners. And then and then after that, I had to keep upgrading because we had so many episodes. So now we've got plenty of bandwidth, but we don't have storage space. Yeah.
So this is going to help, and it's going to help a lot, and help us continue to deliver interesting content to you.
Yeah.
And we're always open for suggestions, topic suggestions. We if you think of someone or some way that we can get in touch with people who work for Clive Barker or who worked in movies and stuff, that's also pretty cool of you guys. So we want to continue making interviews. We want to continue reviewing things for you guys, and we're
going to promote the crap out of this, and we're going to ask Clive Barker's to share that on his Facebook page as well. So you're not going to miss this if you follow us or follow Clive Barker. We'll have it on Twitter and Facebook and our main website, and we'll be sharing it around. So, but I mean, we definitely we want to the other thing, I had asked if anybody had any ideas for a name, but I came up with one that I thought was kind of cool. Clive Barker Podcast presents Fundraiser 2.
Hellbound.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a cool name. Sure. Yeah, why not?
And it's our second one, so I figured that makes sense.
Yeah. So it's nice to be recognized. It's nice to have people out there. We want to keep you informed. We want to keep you entertained. So that's our objective here. And we'd like to take this to the next level. We'd like to be able to, I mean, I'm working on being able to attend the private event screening of Nightbreed Director's Cut, which is going to have, that's going to have Clive Barker present for a Q&A. And I would very much love to be able to go there. Of course, it's costly to fly from North California to South California. So I'm even willing to take a megabus if I have to.
And it's been hinted that you might be able to do some interviews when you get down there.
Yeah, let's see. So I'll definitely take my recorder, my phone, my cameras, and I'll try to be the man in the event for you guys.
Yeah. So I mean, the more comfortable we are, as with not comfortable, but the more we're prepared for this sort of thing or able to do these sort of things, the better episodes we're going to have.
Yeah. Who knows? We can get in touch with and interview next. Yeah. I would love to be able to, at some point, do an interview with Clive Barker. Like some people have been saying, hey, how come you guys haven't been able to interview Clive Barker? Yeah. And usually our answer is like, well, we want him to be well. We want him to, recover. We don't want to be like knocking on his door, like being like, hey, Clive, can you give us an interview?
Yeah.
And we want to make sure that we do things right and we come up with the right questions and we go through the channels to have a comfortable interview with Clive Barker. So who knows? I mean, we're doing our best to.
Well, and it's funny because the first, when we first started, the question was, hey, I thought this was Clive Barker's podcast, but he's not on it at all.
Really? We got a question like that?
Oh yeah, that came up a bunch. I got emails, that people were mad, or I had one guy wrote to me and asked why I did such a crappy job making Hellraiser Revelations. Because when we first started the podcast, Hellraiser Revelations had just come out.
It's not our fault.
Yeah, no, it's not even Clive Barker's fault.
But you know what? I remember when Revelations came out, people were like berating Clive Barker on Twitter. Like, can't believe that you're still, doing. People thought that he's still involved in these things, and he hasn't been involved with, the Clive Barker, the Hellraiser movies for a long time.
Yeah.
So, and that's why he once said that notoriously that Hellraiser Revelations is not from the mind of Clive Barker. It's not even from my butthole.
Yeah.
And I'm paraphrasing, but
so I mean, then I added the tagline: the Clive Barker Podcast, a podcast about Clive Barker. It's not by Clive Barker. We're fans. So, yeah. So I mean, we're we've gotten to know a lot of people that work for Clive Barker, or in his peripheral area. And there's some feedback, that we're going to get into where people are giving us suggestions about what kinds of things, we should do. So actually, the first one, the first question here was from Paul Fluid, and he said, how many casts do you have to get before you get a Clive interview episode? And so, and like we said before, it would be good for Clive to be feeling better. Because if we ask now and he says, no, I'm not feeling up to it, I don't want to keep bugging him, right? So I want to wait, we want to ask at the right time. And, and we can ask, and we if the stars are aligned, it'll probably happen.
Also, we know Clive Barker's time is very precious, and we don't want to keep him from doing his art. Yeah,
and listen to the way that we go on and on and on too. So we probably wouldn't have him talking for 2 hours, but we could probably get maybe half an hour when he's feeling better. And also at the beginning, I didn't want to go straight to interviewing Clive Barker because for one thing, we had a big long list of topics that we wanted to cover, and that felt like we were jumping the gun. It's like, well, where do you go after that?
Right. Well, you talk to Clive Barker again.
Yeah, exactly. And then is that what the podcast is? Is just a bunch of interviews with Clive Barker.
I would just like to say here that if you guys don't know about this, and I'm going to talk about another podcast, which Clive Barker did this 2-episode interview once. And let me see if I remember exactly what was the name of this podcast. I will add this to the show notes.
Okay.
Because it's going to be interesting. All right, so the interview that I'm talking about, and this is a guy who's interviewed a lot of famous writers. Mm-hmm. It's the Agony Column.
Oh.
And yeah, the Agony Column, and they did a 2-parter with Clive Barker. They've interviewed people like Robert Jordan, Ramsey Campbell.
Okay.
Chuck Palahniuk.
So it's kind of about the writing process, probably.
Yeah, Douglas Coupland. I don't know, Jonathan Lethem, who was the editor of the Philip K. Dick Exegesis, Terry Pratchett. So this guy has interviewed a lot of interesting writers. And their episodes are huge. Like, they're 2 chapters, and they talk about everything from, like, Clive Barker's childhood with his grandmother, who used to, like, drink this mixture of, like, ale with beef that she would put on the side of the fireplace or something.
Oh, wow.
These amazing stories that they go through their lives and questions about their artwork, and it's really complete. Have you ever heard of this one?
No.
Okay, well, I guess I just discovered a really nice way for you to spend a few hours.
Is it a podcast that you can find on iTunes?
No, but I can actually provide the link to the audio interview index.
Okay, so is it like streaming or MP3s or something?
Yeah, you can download it or stream it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's cool. Yeah, I'm interested.
And I always wanted to be able to ask Clive some of those questions, And
yeah.
That's really one of the most interesting interviews I've read or listened to.
Yeah.
With Clive Barker. It was the Agony Column.
Yeah. So, we would want. I mean, he would probably want a lot of advance notice, but we would want a lot of advance notice.
Yeah.
And I hate to say this, but sometimes some of our interviews we aren't able to prepare as much as we would have liked, and we can't let that happen with him.
Exactly. We don't want any single question to be wasted. I mean,
yeah.
In fact, I've practiced so much my questions for Clive Barker when there was that opening at Revelations when they say, "Hey, send us your questions."
Oh yeah.
We'll give it to Clive Barker.
Yeah.
And I ended up making a question that was so polished that Clive Barker's answer was he answered his own question. So he said he liked it. I mean, he said, "I really like this question," but pretty much he answered himself.
It was part observation. Yeah.
And I guess I was like, I got so much into the Clive Barker mindset that I ended up answering the question within the question.
Yeah.
So, but the Agony Column is the kind of interview that I would love to ask Clive one day with you, but come up with different questions that would be as interesting.
Yeah.
And that's hard.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and we know so much.
And at the same time, we know so little about who he is, Yeah. I mean, we have that book, The Dark Fantastic. Mm-hmm. And in that book, you have all of Clive Barker's life there. I mean, and even more detailed are the books that Phil and Sarah are putting out.
Yes. Oh, gosh. I still need to buy number 3.
Yeah, actually, I just got in touch with them. They said that they're holding my numbers, so cool.
Okay.
I'm going to see if I can buy them soon.
Yeah.
But, so why haven't we done it yet? Because we still need to get ready, because we need to get this at the proper timing.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. I'm not in a big hurry to do that. But yeah, I mean, people have also mentioned that we should do it for episode 100. I mean, sure, yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, I would love to.
Yeah, that's probably summer of next year. At the pace that we go, because we do one episode every other week.
Let's see. We're just starting to get more into the whole Clive Barker camp side. So we're doing our best here.
Yeah.
And it's really nice to get in touch with these people who work with Clive Barker, who are also friendly towards us, who we can consider friends.
Yeah.
Of course, for you, for example, I mean, you met Mark Miller before he was working for Clive Barker.
Well, yeah. He was working for Clive Barker, but he was kind of like what Ben Mears is doing.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So there you go.
Yeah.
But, so we really appreciate this, and it's very fun to have this extended group of people who support our work and give us a direct line to interesting news and Clive Barker and his artwork.
Yeah. Yeah, and Paul went on to say, personally, I think you guys would construct a great interview with him. It'd be a great listen. So thanks for that, Paul.
Thanks for the confidence.
It would be a big deal for us, and we don't want to mess it up.
Right.
Yeah.
So the answer is we're working on it.
Yeah. Yep. Maybe we can start putting together a note, in our notes, for what we would ask, and just start working on a draft of that.
Yeah, it's not easy coming up with intelligent, interesting questions for people that you can consider a genius, like I do. I consider Clive Barker to be a genius.
Yeah.
In his art.
And I've gotten pretty tongue tied and said some dumb things when I've met him in person.
I don't know if I'm able to meet him in the Alex Theater.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to tell him.
Yeah.
I just.
You rehearse it in your mind, and then you get there, and it just comes out all wrong. I mean, anyway, that's what happened to me.
Yeah, I've had that happen to me with a lot of people over the years. I mean, Doug Bradley. The first time I met Doug Bradley, it was like I was tongue tied.
Yeah, yeah.
I just gave him my Nightbreed Chronicles, and he signed like the picture of Lylesburg, and I was like, and then the floodgates opened, and that's when I started talking to him.
Yeah.
But you don't want to ask someone like Clive, say, hey, Clive, so, hey, what's up? You don't want to listen to the other side, Clive say, not much.
Yeah.
That's not interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been cool. I gotten to meet so many different interesting people because of following the Cabal Cut around, and Russell and I got in a rubber band fight with Tom Savini.
Really?
Yeah, because he was in a table across the room, and we just kept launching rubber bands at each other. It's like, that's stuff that I'll never forget.
Yeah. That's amazing.
So, okay. So Michael Riddenauer, he wrote a big one here. He said, the Clive Barker podcast has been a great place for me to get to know the world of Clive Barker so much better. And luckily, we have two wonderful moderators that know their stuff. I swear to God that we didn't write this. I've listened to about 10 of the podcasts. I've got a lot of catching up to do, and I've always left with an urge to go out and seeking something Clive Barker has done that I don't have, such as his playbooks, for example. I just recently bought those and look forward to reading them. I really would love to see some of those plays live. I think I'd enjoy Frankenstein in Love the most. I can't wait to read it. Another part of the podcast that I enjoy is a candid chatter between the two. It's pretty funny, and I had some good laughs during the Hellraiser 3 Bloodline podcast. Mm-hmm. And they always ask good questions. It never gets boring. Finally, I'd like to thank both of you creating this podcast. Yeah. It deserves more people. I'll try to pass the word at the school that I go to with flyers. Nobody in my family knows who Clive Barker really is, and they're not interested. Too bad for them. Keep up the good work.
So, thank you. Thank you very much, Michael. Yeah. I mean, it's very rewarding to read these things because, I've known Michael actually for quite a few years. I've known him first in the, in the online forum. It was the Hellbound Web.
Oh, yeah.
So, really cool. I mean, we've had long discussions over the years, and it's always nice to see someone who likes Clive Barker almost as much as we do, or as much, of course.
Yeah.
But, so wonderful. I mean, we're doing our job right, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, so thanks so much. That means a lot to us. And actually, after he wrote that, I said, thank you. would you mind pasting that right into the iTunes reviews? But he didn't actually have iTunes, and I wasn't going to make him go download it just for that. But
sure,
yeah. But that was really nice.
This is probably one of the best feedback that we got.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks so much. And Jason Stolaric says purchased limited just before they ran out. Hardcover still seems great. What is total print run now of each edition? So he's talking about Tortured Souls. And I think that all we know is that there was a total of 500 of the limited edition, 26 of the lettered, and no idea what the cloth bound hardcovers are. How many?
Yeah.
Maybe they'll just keep making them until people stop buying them. I have no idea.
Yeah. You can always send your questions to Subterranean Press.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a good idea.
Okay. Another one is, I know I'd love to hear new interviews from people that have been involved in Clive's work, whether it be in comics, games, or movies. I personally would love to see interviews with Peter Atkins, Tony Randell, Valentina Vargas, Paul Ramsey, and Tony Todd. So we actually did have, I did do a kind of a short interview with Tony Todd. It wasn't my favorite interview that I ever did. Uh-huh. He wasn't super nice or anything, and in fact,
who was the guy who was screaming next to you guys?
Richard Mall, the really tall guy from Night Court.
Yeah.
He had a puppet that was screaming while I was doing the interview, and then some guy came up to Tony Todd and they were arguing about how much publicity Tony Todd had on the art on the front cover, and then. Where can he eat barbecue food? And it's like I'm standing there with this recorder going, and then after a while he just sort of wandered away, and it's like, okay, am I supposed to wait here for you to come back? And so Tony Todd was not my favorite person to interview. He was, and also after that day, that was the Friday, right? So only the people who bought VIP tickets could get in on Friday. So there are very few people in there. And so I interviewed Tony Todd and Ann Bobby and Craig Sheffer on that day, and that was the day that she coined the Occupy Midian on our podcast. And then, but then Tony Todd never showed up again after that day, right? So the big days, the Saturday, and the big day is Saturday, and he wasn't there for that then or Sunday. So
did you try going in the bathroom and saying Tony Todd 3 times?
Yeah, in the mirror.
Yeah.
Or kick up the toilet seat. See if bees come out.
Yeah. So those are really good names. Peter Atkins. I did trade some emails with Peter Atkins once. A few years ago, back when he appeared in the Doug Bradley website forum.
Yeah.
And there were some pictures posted there of some kind of event where Doug Bradley was there, and so was Ashley Lawrence and Peter Atkins. And and he ended up posting there, making fun of his own pictures and his appalling obesity, as he put it.
Oh.
Because I think I said something like, wow, Peter Atkins is looking a little chubby.
Oh.
And then he was like, yes, indeed, my appalling obesity. And I was like, oh, sorry. And then we ended up trading some emails, and I told him, hey, really love your book, The Vampires of Summer and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
But then his book publishing company, he had he was a partner, or he owned a deluxe book publishing company. They specialize in releasing these amazing hardcover editions of books, and I think that after a while that went under, so I kind of lost touch. I did send him some questions about Bloodline. I think I asked him some questions about Angelique and the Hellraiser 3 and 4 stuff. But he told me at one point, he was like, well, actually, those are really cool questions. But my mom is here. She's visiting from England, so I'll get back to you. And then he never did. And I did send him another email sometime later. And I don't think I got an answer. And then the email just bounced back, which I think the website that it was registered to kind of like went under.
Oh, man. So
after a while, I didn't have his contact anymore. But I would love to be able to get in touch with Peter Atkins and ask him some questions. I think if it hadn't been, of course, for the bad timing, he probably would have given me some interesting stuff. At the time, I had the blog called Hellraiser Gallery, and I was actually trying to do pretty much what we're doing now. I even started like the sketch of a podcast, which I put up in a website called Odeo, but that never picked up. So I would love to talk to him.
And Tony Randell is pretty active on Facebook, and he's not hard to get a hold of on there. So I imagine we could make that happen.
Yeah, sure. I've sent him a few invitations, but I never got a positive answer so far. So
sometimes I worry a little bit about the limited scope of the people that we're interviewing. I mean, not that they're limited, but the amount of crossover between what we want to talk about and what, like we don't know anything else going on in their lives, or, all we know about like is maybe Hellraiser 2 or, we just did one recently that sort of felt that way. I'm trying to think of what it was. No, I can't remember, but yeah.
I think the most, perfect example of that case would have been, unfortunately, our interview with Hugh Ross.
Yeah,
because we were not, even though he's probably,
he's a really prolific actor.
Yeah, in England and stuff. But for some reason, we did not overlap with the same projects that he worked on.
Yeah.
So I never really saw them, and basically it was more like a Nightbreed thing, and I was actually surprised. To have the opportunity to talk to him. That was really, really nice. Unfortunately, it was also the time when one of my friends was getting married, I think, and you also had, Joey was much, much smaller.
Yeah.
And so I was coming back from a bachelor party.
And we had just gotten done talking for 2 hours on our, Show Off Your Stuff episode. That video episode that we did, and then we took a 5-minute break and then did this interview with him.
Yep. So I guess we were pretty much talked out.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I guess an example of that, Valentina Vargas would be a tough interview to do, I think, because she, for me, it's like she's got, all I know of her is Hellraiser 4, right?
Sure.
I mean, maybe she's probably done other things that she would want to talk about.
You've never seen The Name of the Rose? With Sean Connery?
No. Maybe I have. I can't remember.
Well, she's in there.
Okay.
She's in there. Yeah. So
I could watch that again.
What you mean. Yeah. Of course, there's always the factor of preparing for an interview. Of course.
Yeah.
But the truth is, right now I would have to really catch up on a lot of her work because it's true. I haven't been up to date on her work.
Which isn't the end of the world. That's not a terrible thing to go rent some movies or whatever. But
although to be honest, we probably would only take like half an hour of her time just to ask some questions about Hellraiser. That's basically, personally, that's just what I'm interested in her work that I know of. So that would be the focus of my questions.
And Paul Ramsey, who is that?
Oh, Paul Ramsey played John, the merchant guy in, the descendant of Le Marchand. And actually, Le Marchand, that was the same actor also.
Oh, okay, yeah, John Merchant.
Yeah, he's actually a Canadian actor. So
okay, gotcha. And, of course, Tony Todd we talked about. And then he goes on to say, I think a great topic for the podcast would be the abandoned Hellraiser game. I remember seeing screenshots. And he sent us a bunch of information about the Hellraiser game, didn't he, after he wrote that post?
Yeah, I think so. We talked about this briefly.
Yeah.
I think it was that episode where it was also with your friend.
Where we talked about art and video games.
Yeah. But, of course, since then, I think I found more stuff about this game. I don't remember if I brought up the storyboards that I found online for this game, but I did find some storyboards, and there's some pictures of also for the Nightbreed games, the graphic adventures. Yeah. So
I can play those now.
We can probably talk about this in another episode in the future. I mean, as an aside thing, if it's one of those episodes where we don't have like a huge, central topic, we can discuss this. That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Just Hellraiser Bloodline, which I know it's also another big interest of Michael Reitnauer.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then Troy Gardner said, "There's a podcast." So I was like, "Thanks a lot, Troy." Bradley Gartz said, and he was actually our winner for last year. For the raffle. He said, "I am more than happy to support you guys again." So thank you again, Bradley. We appreciate that. Jason Stolaric says, "I can donate an extra copy of Hellraiser 20th Anniversary hardcover with dust jacket. It's in perfect condition. I bought extras for my personal collection." So thank you, Jason. And we talked about that, and we thank you again.
That's very generous.
Kip Jankowski says, "I'm good with whatever the final amount is. If there are items directly from Clive and Seraphim, sounds more than worth it to me." So what he's talking about is I put a poll up on Occupy Midian asking, is $25 too much, or should it go be $10 for a raffle ticket like it was last year? There's pros and cons of doing it both ways, right? Because $10 means you can buy more tickets.
Right.
But if we don't get enough people participating and we only get a few people buying one ticket, we'll have more prizes than tickets, and we won't make enough to cover our expenses.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Because, and like you were saying, if we bundle things, and some of the prizes in these bundles are worth over $100.
Yeah.
So it's like the final value of each bundle, if we do bundle, it's going to be more than $100. It's going to be closer to $150 in prizes.
Yeah.
So it would be nice to be able to, get some extra money out of this so we could, finally get to pay all these hosting expenses and stuff and maintain the website.
Yeah. So, and the poll actually leaned towards $25, and that's what I'm thinking we want to do is $25 for a ticket. I know you don't get to buy as many tickets when it's that high, but we've got some really super huge prizes this time. I think last time we only had a couple of prizes, but now we've got like over 10. So
yeah, it's going to be much more interesting. It's hopefully it will help us keep the podcast afloat for this year, and maybe, who knows, even a little bit of next year. That would be cool.
And then this one I'm going to shorten up a little bit here, but Michael Ridnour wanted us to do an episode or a topic about the Hellraiser Halloween crossover film. And we did touch on that briefly in one episode. I think it sounds horrible. But Michael's got a lot more information about that, and we maybe another time we could go into it. But
it seems like there's enough material here that we could probably do an episode, and who knows, maybe even invite our friend Michael to join us.
Typically, when we do, that would be cool. Typically, when we do an episode like this, we like to get the script somewhere and read it. Mm-hmm. Was there even a script for this, or just a treatment?
I don't think so. Maybe just a treatment at best.
Yeah,
it wasn't just like, something someone said in a meeting.
Yeah.
There's a lot of information here that we have added to our OneNote notebook. So we'll make sure to mark this for a future episode. Thank you for all the material that you've been finding.
So stay tuned for the raffle for sure, because we're going to have that up here pretty close to the time that this episode airs. We're expecting to do $25 per ticket, and each day we're going to have one or two things drawn. And I kind of liked your idea about mixing it up, so maybe having a low-price item and a high-price item on each day. That's pretty cool, because I was originally thinking one thing per day, and we would start with the cheapest things and work our way up. But I think I like your idea better.
Yeah, and we can even space this out instead of being just a daily thing, because we want to give people time to buy tickets and spread this around.
So would you rather have that audio when we do the drawings? Just do little audio, like 5-minute thing, 5-minute little episodes, and put them in the feed?
Sure, okay. We can actually put that on YouTube and post the YouTube on our blog.
Oh, yeah, we could
have a channel, right?
We could do it video, too. It's just last year I got Joey hurt doing a video, so...
Well, here's the thing. Don't use anything made of glass this time.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So,
and for people who saw that, what ended up happening is I used the dome for the Pyramid Gallery puzzle box, and I was holding the dome by the lip and shaking it to shake the little things around. And it exploded on Joey and made him cry and stuff. And that was totally my fault. I should never have been shaking that glass, holding it by the lip like that. That was stupid. But that's what happened. And anyway, Max was nice enough to send me a new dome free of charge. Which was it was really awesome, and thanks again,
good customer service.
Yeah. So Pyramid Gallery are awesome. More people should go to their site and check out those puzzle boxes. I mean, obviously it costs more than the plastic sided mystery box because it's way better made.
Sure.
Yeah.
And there's stuff in those boxes that I guess some people never even realize that it is there. Mm-hmm. With, I don't want to spoil this, but the little area where you wind up the musical boxes, there's a secret underneath that. And I wonder if all the people out there that have these boxes ever bothered to actually look what's under that box.
Yeah, take a look.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So thanks, and please join our raffle. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be very happy with the prizes.
Yeah,
and you're really helping us out, bringing you more content.
And I have to say, for the first time, I'm totally jealous of the people who win this contest because there's cool prizes that you and I don't have.
Right, it's like I haven't even bought a copy of Clive Barker's first Tales yet.
Oh man, yeah.
Have you?
Yeah, I do have that. Yeah. I don't think mine is autographed though.
Right. Clive Barker.
I could do a little swapperoo, but I won't because this is for our keeping our podcast going, and that's more important.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So honestly, I feel bad about not donating anything from my collection for this raffle, but the fact is, it's just my collection's not here with me.
Yeah, it's in Portugal.
And a lot of people out there have seen my posts on Facebook on the podcast page. That sometimes I buy these copies off of Amazon just so that I can have a work copy to read the book again.
Yeah.
Like I did for Thief of Always, for, Great and Secret Show. I recently got a copy of Shadows in Eden because I missed that book so much. And I bought
that painting on the inside cover is disturbing.
Yes, but it's a good way.
Yeah.
It's disturbing in a good way.
Yeah.
I could donate these word copies that I have here, but it's you don't want them. I bought them for a cent from Amazon, and they're pretty beat up.
Yeah.
And this wouldn't be attractive for anybody.
Well, I'm sure you'll feel a lot better when you get your collection back.
Oh, yeah. I don't know exactly how many trips is going to take for me to bring everything here, though. And I would be in panic to bring everything in one suitcase.
Yeah.
First of all, if it can fit in there. Second of all, what if that suitcase gets lost in transit?
Yeah.
That would have been terrible.
Yeah. Well, I've moved a lot of times, and I packed my entire collection up here to Alaska on a barge.
Wow.
So it can,
Sounds adventurous.
Yeah.
All right. Well, keep watching this space, and we will post the raffle. We're still gonna brainstorm about this, so
yeah.
Stay tuned.
Yeah. Goodbye.
All right. Catch you guys.
Bandwidth for this episode was provided by Michael Riddenauer. Thank you so much, Michael, for your most recent donation, and I hope you're still saving some for the raffle because we've got really good stuff ahead.
You can reach us on the web at www.clivebarkercast.com. Leave us a review on iTunes. We're on Podomatic, Xbox Music Store, TuneIn Radio, Stitcher, Double Twist, BlackBerry, and Pocket Cast. Like our page on Facebook, and join the Occupy Midian group. On Twitter, we're at BarkerCast and at Occupy Midian. The forum is www.clivebarkerfans.com/forum. Opening theme by Colin Lakativa.